Welcome to Industry on Blast, the podcast that takes you on a thrilling journey into the hidden depths of secrets, deception, and untold stories. Hosted by Dr. Marlene Carson, a fearless advocate and survivor, this show is your gateway to the shocking truth and captivating narratives that lie beneath the surface. Get ready to unveil the secrets of the industry and hear from special guests who have experienced it firsthand. This is Industry on Blast.
Hi, and welcome to Industry on Blast. I am your host, Dr. Marlene Carson, and I am really super excited to have my guest on that I'm going to introduce you to in just a minute. But let me tell you a little bit about Industry on Blast. So BLAST is an acronym for Black Leaders Against Sex Trafficking. And when I think about this movement, when I think about the work that I've done in this space, I am a survivor of domestic minor sex trafficking. I've been in this space for over 2 decades, and I've seen the landscape change. But unfortunately, to me personally, it has not changed for the better. And so my guest today, we're going to talk about that, what it looks like now, and what she is doing about changing the landscape for people of color. Let's welcome to the show, Chong Kim.
She thought he was her boyfriend.
I'll be right back.
But as recounted in Eden, the film based on Chong Kim's book, Not in My Town, he was a recruiter for the sex slave trade.
I didn't really know how to put my thoughts together at that moment. You're just in shock. All I could think about is the time when he would caress my face, how much he loved me, and how much I believed in him. And then all of a sudden, it was a 180, and I'm thinking, what happened? Where did it go wrong?
You went through those initial days of captivity, and then you were taken to an environment where there were other girls.
Yes.
And you were sex slaves.
Yes.
And you were sold to the neighbouring community as sex slaves. Walk me through those days.
Each unit had about 20 to 25 girls in each unit. They were brought in from Europe to Southeast Asia, India, Africa, and then girls in the US would be traded off. So it was like a giant human factory.
Today's gonna be a good day. I can feel it.
Yeah, I'm sure I don't have to explain to you the consequences if you cause trouble for me.
Early on in her capture, Chong did try to escape. In the film, she runs to a house. But in reality, Chong had fled to a much more public place.
Stop. I've got it under control. She's an addict. She's very dangerous. You don't want to get mixed up in this. You might get hurt.
I went to a shopping mall. People were gathering their kids and pulling away. And I said, somebody help me, he's going to kill me, he's going to kill me. People pulled away. He walked in with a military uniform, grabbed me by the hair, yanked my head back. And I saw the security went like this. And as soon as he threw me in the car, he said, "You're a nobody." And that proved it.
How long did this go on?
From 1995 through 1997. And I ranked up as a madam in 1996.
I can help you.
You want to help me? You want to be a part of this?
That's when I started seeing the infrastructure of the organized crime. I started seeing how many corrupted politicians as well as very powerful people were also involved in fueling the fire as a sex trade of children.
I'm asking if you were actually committed to this.
Then it was like, well, who do I go to now?
What are you gonna do, shoot her?
No. You are.
How did you get out in the end?
I was in one of the casinos and I saw the vent and it made me flash back to my childhood, watching the James Bond film, and I said, can you really crawl through there? You know, that's what my thought was. And there was a maintenance guy that would come and I would play with the thermostat and he would say, why are you messing with the thermostat? And I said, how do you get out? He was like, oh no. I can't tell. And so basically I manipulated him by making him fall in love with me. I mean, it took probably close to a couple of weeks. And he finally told me that if I go through, I will end up in the laundry chute to go through there, and then once I get there, then I can go out.
Are there many people who are still in the position that you were in back in the 90s?
Yes.
How many do you think there are? Are we talking tens, hundreds, thousands?
More than 1,000 as far as victims. For madams, it's a growing trend now. Women are taking over. They're getting tired of men controlling them, being pimps, so they feel like, you know what, a woman can do a better job. A woman can use her feminine charm to get more girls. There was a story in New Jersey about a 17-year-old girl who sold her little sister, 7 years old, to traffickers, and she made money off of her. We're having girls going into junior high schools and high schools, pretending to be friends with these kids in school.
Do you live in fear for your life?
I do, but at the same time, I cannot get rid of the faces of the girls I couldn't save. I cannot get rid of the screams. I was forced to watch a young child being raped and sodomized in front of me. And so it's always in my mind. And so I feel like when I speak, I'm bringing voices together. If we are the voters, then start asking questions to the leaders. What are you going to do about these brothels that are in our town?
Won't be too long now.
Wow, that was absolutely powerful. You did such a phenomenal job during that interview. And I have 1,000 questions. Okay, so, but first I am going to say welcome. Thank you so much for joining us here today on Industry on Blast. The one emotion that I had, I don't really get triggered anymore. I thank God for that, but I get pissed off. And so I remember seeing your movie. Let me read back up again. You wrote Eden. Is that correct?
I wrote the manuscript, which was my story, and the scriptwriter took my story and turned it into a script. They told me they had to change some things because this was back in 2005. Mm-hmm. And they said, there's no way the industry will let me tell this or this, so we have to change.
They wouldn't let you tell the truth.
Basically.
Wow.
Because the kittens in the film.
I remember, right.
They were actually small little girls.
And so let me tell you what she's talking about. So there is a scene in the movie. You can actually see the movie on Prime. Is that correct? Okay. Yep. See the movie on Prime. And there's a scene in the movie where the victims are holding these little kittens. And so in the actual real story, who were those kittens?
They were little girls. And they range any... And the thing I want to explain to everyone, this was my first time ever doing a film. I didn't know anything about life rights. I didn't know anything about all of those things. So I didn't get to participate on the set. Mm-hmm. So majority of the girls were Caucasian. And I told them the majority of the girls I was trafficked with were minorities. Wow. Minority Americans to Africans to India, you know, all those, because they, like I said, they would swap them. If you have an Americanized Black girl, she would be sent to China, so that way they could use her organs. Whereas a girl from Nigeria will be brought here and being put into a foreign or an American home to be used as a slave.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. I just think you are the bomb.com for real, because to take your story, not only to write a script or write the story where it can be written into a movie, you got to be a bad sister to actually get your movie on film. Okay. And I just congratulate you and I applaud you. I'm probably one of your biggest fans because I just think it's so amazing what you've done in this anti-trafficking space. I just really, and I admonish you all to go on to Prime and check out Eden. When I first watched it, yeah, it was like, whoa, what is going? That scene we just showed where you were running away. So what was the real scene like?
I did not have a two-piece outfit.
Okay.
I did not have a Catholic girl outfit. The trafficker, or the recruiter, I should say, the guy that basically manipulated me to fall in love with him, he actually handcuffed me to a doorknob in an abandoned house in Enid, Oklahoma. So I did not get to shower for 2-3 weeks.
What?
He had to spoon feed me in those canned goods. That's why now I hate canned goods. They're a trigger for me. And so as soon as he took the handcuffs off, there was a shopping mall, just like a block down or a couple blocks down. I ran in the shopping center and I said, somebody help me, because I reeked with feces, urine, blood. People were like, oh my goodness. They told me to step away. Even the security was like, ma'am, you need to step away.
That's horrible.
And I said, I was bleeding, from the side of my head. I had bruises up and down my body. And I said, somebody help me. He's going to kill me. He's going to kill me. And he walks in a military camo, grabs me by the hair, drags me up. People are applauding.
What?
I kid you not. People were applauding. And I said, he's going to kill me. And he said, sorry, everyone. She's psychotic. We have to take her in. And when he threw me in the car,
accountable for this case? Was
anyone
held accountable? Was the security guard at the mall? Was it no one?
Nobody.
So let me ask you this question: if this was happening in 2023, do you think it would look different?
Yes and no.
Okay, explain.
And this is just my opinion.
Sure.
Unless you have a certain look, I think people will watch. People will pull out cameras. They'll show. But if you are a person of color, if you look like you're homeless or a drug addict, nobody's going to care. Because when we think of broken people, we automatically assign that to majority person of color.
Yeah.
Majority indigenous, Latino American, because they think, oh, here's the borders. The borders are opening up. Now we got them.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I was so outraged through the years of, even in my survival, I would have men that would be like, oh, I never had an Asian girl, and I said, what do I look like, a sampler for you so you could just try it? And so, but one of the things that I remember, even my trafficker, I never had a pimp. So I wanted to make that clear.
Okay.
My trafficker was Caucasian and Asian, but they were European Caucasian, but they did business here in America, Las Vegas, Texas, Oklahoma, you name it. But one of the rules that we were told, do not look at a black man.
Right.
Do not make eye contact to a black man. And do not see a black man. One of our African-American girls that was brought in, she thought she was exempt. So she went to see he was like an athlete or something. He came into Vegas, wanted to see her. She went to go see him. I don't know how my trafficker found out, but he did. And he brought her and he called all the girls to come around. And he brought these two big black guys to beat the crap out of her in front of all of us. And he said, I said, but he didn't say blacks. He said no, and he used that N-word.
Well, let me just tell you, I actually had one of those experiences myself. When I was being exploited, I was also told that I was not allowed to see a black guy. Now, I didn't know what the logic was behind that at that time. I was very young. And so a celebrity came in town. A celebrity, if I said his name, everybody would know the celebrity. And so he called our escort service and I answered and he said, no, I want to see you. And so I was there for like 2.5 days. And so after that second day, I got wind that the trafficker found out, and it was not good. He came to the hotel. It was not good. He didn't care how much money I had. He said no, and he meant no, and I got punished for it severely. Yeah, severely. And so the sad part about it was that the guy, A-list celebrity, okay, A-list celebrity, he had done it so often that he didn't even have no feelings about it. It was like, oh, you shouldn't have came. What? Yeah. Yeah, so I know those stories real well.
Absolutely.
But you have done some great work when it comes to this space. I would like to talk about your current project, which is, tell us. I'm not going to say it. You sing it.
It's called E40S, and we're not talking about the rapper.
I know. What is E40S?
Every 40 seconds.
Why did you call your next film Every 40 Seconds? What is that about?
Every 40 seconds, I actually did undercover work with ICE and FBI, and that was the first time I heard it. And they said, you are part of the Every 40 Seconds. And I said, what are you talking about? Is someone coming to get me?
Right.
And he said, no, every 40 seconds, a child or youth in America goes missing. And 1 in every 4th falls into human trafficking. So I went on the National Center of Crime statistic as well as missing persons. I did my research and come to find out since 2015, African American ranks the highest out of all the other nationalities and ethnic, and then annually 200,000 go missing every year.
Are you saying 200,000 people of color? And so out of 200,000 people of color that go missing, 1 out of every 4 fall into trafficking. And what do you think? We have a lot of missing and murdered people of color that, we really don't even talk about. Like, nobody's looking. There's no Amber Alerts. Why is that when it comes to African American or people of color? Why is it like that? Why is it like that?
I believe it's a way to continue to be oppressed, because the thing is, I grew up in a foster care, and I just want to share this real quick.
Sure.
I grew up in a foster care in Chickasha, Oklahoma. My foster parents were white, but I had 3 foster siblings, and they were all African American.
Wow.
But I would see how people treated me different than they did my sisters.
Wow.
I had 2 foster sisters that belonged to the parents, and they were white. And I would see how they bark orders to my Black brother and Black sisters. But when we would go to church, my foster mom, she would say, oh, this is Shakila. She's from Nigeria. And Shakila would look at me and she's like, where's Nigeria? And I was like, I think it's in New York or something.
She wasn't from Nigeria.
No. She was from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. She said all she knew is that she was in foster care since she was a baby. They found her in a crack house. And she would always tell me, every time she would see an adult Black woman, she wanted to run to her and say, Mom.
Wow.
But she was so afraid that the lady would say, who are you?
Wow.
And, one of the things that she said to me, and it stuck with me, I remember, because our foster parents did not feed us. They literally put our food in a freaking dog bowl. We didn't have any pets.
My God.
But me and Shakila had to eat cereal out of a dog bowl. So we would go to different churches, and I would knock on the door first. And of course, this is a white town in Oklahoma where we were at. The churches would give me tons of food and cash. And Shakila said, let me try. So she knocked on the same door. They didn't open the door.
Wow.
I saw the lady open the blinds and closed it. And I walked up there and I was kicking the door. And I said, I know you saw us. And I'm banging on the door.
I think that's so horrible. And I think it's really sad to say that hasn't changed much.
It hasn't. But the one thing that haunted me, that what my sister said to me, she said, I have to get used to this, Chong. I have to get used to this.
So you have to get used to systemic racism. You have to get, you know what? Unfortunately, I kind of understand that. Because I've been in this space for a long time, and I'm starting to realize there's just certain things, unless we do it ourselves, y'all can forget government's not going to do it. Some of the church is not going to do it. I'm just telling you, this is the reality of our world. And so as survivors and those that are coming up after us, we have to change the narrative. We have to do that. Communities are going to have to do that because it's not going to happen any other way. Do you believe that?
I certainly do. I truly do. And when she said, I have to get used to that, I was hurting for her.
I get it.
And when I went through the school, then they separated us. I went to an all-white school. I was called Chink, Gook. I had chocolate milk being poured on my head. They're like, oh, we see you hanging around with those in people. So you're an in lover. And they would pour water. They would spray paint our house. They said, go home, Gooks. And then when you live in a country, there's tons of dead animals.
Okay.
They would throw it on our front lawn and said they eat dogs and cats, all because of one white teacher that says, oh, I went to China and they eat dogs and cats.
Wow.
First of all, I'm not from China. Second of all, that's not always a fact. That was a stereotype.
Right.
But I didn't know that. I was in 6th grade. So everyone's like, ooh, we're not going to invite Chong over because she might eat Fifi. So for the longest time, I was so angry. So when people ask me, why are you angry when it comes to police brutality? Why are you angry when you see racism?
Why aren't they angry is the question.
Thank you. And then one of my biggest pet peeves is when I hear people say, why can't we say the N-word, but they can't? Why are you tripping on that?
Right.
What is the big deal? If you find it so condescending, why are you even worried about that word?
Is that where your heart and passion comes from with people of color because of your siblings that were in foster care?
Well, also Shaquila, we reunited in 1996. And then we stayed in touch. She followed me everywhere. She was my ride to die.
Wow.
And then in early in 2000, I moved out to Minnesota. I said, girl, they're talking about this new word called trafficking. I think we were in it. We need to get benefits. And that's when I found out that the government says, no, you don't get benefits, only the foreigners. And that's what made me angry. I remember GeoCities, I typed in there, the government doesn't care about survivors. They got angry. They told me, shut it down, no. And so then that's when I went on Montel. I went on CNBC, MSNBC, and that's how Hollywood, they said, we want to tell your story.
Okay, that's how that happened.
So because I was talking out, because I was speaking out, and I loved Montel. He was so sweet.
Yeah.
He was so sweet. And I loved when he was like, so all you people that have uncles and dads and brothers, don't be like, they're not buying kids. Oh, yes, they are. And I was like, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, but the thing was, even after the film was made, what angered me is that I was still seeing the same problem. Survivors are not being recognized as an expert.
Yeah.
Survivors are not being hired at a lot of these non-survivor-led organizations. But yet they said, we want to help survivors. No, you want to treat us like a client, so we stay below you. You want to be the expert. You want to be this white knight hero complex.
Honey, I gotta say here, it ain't them either.
Thank you. But I was getting angry. And because I was speaking out about the injustice that I saw even within other nonprofits, whenever a girl is being sexually assaulted in the program, she goes to the police. Guess what? They call CPS and say, guess what? She relapsed. And guess what? Her kids are taken away. Yeah. Then she's right back where she started.
Right back in the same cycle.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
And so whenever now I get
programs, Chong, what do you think about some of these programs that you go to victims go to these programs, they take their phones so they can't reach their family or their support system, and they keep them for like 6 to 9 months. I've read several programs that have this practice. They're not allowed to have a job. They're not, this, to me, it's insane.
Mm-hmm.
How do you expect to take victims or people, and help them to get their life back when you have them under the same kind of constraint that the trafficker did?
Thank you.
It makes no sense.
Thank you. It doesn't either, because one of the things I started looking at the recidivism rate.
Yeah.
With all these so-called social services.
Yeah.
Where they get the big bucks from the federal government.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is wrong with this picture? Why are we not empowering them? Right. There was a convention I went to. I was so mad. This one lady, she said, would you like to buy our bracelet? Because our victims made them. And I said, how the hell is a bracelet going to help her with a real job?
Okay.
I said, have you taught her how to type? Does she know how to file? When I assisted victims that were like me, the first thing I said is, don't bullshit the bullshitter.
Okay.
I know every game.
Right.
But I'm going to give you some tough love.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, right now, you don't have a job. You don't have anything. Do you have any skills?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, yes, you do. You have skills.
Yes, you do.
So I helped them recognize and turn those skills into something profitable for themselves.
Yeah.
And then I downloaded Mavis Beacon.
I did the same thing, and I didn't even know you back then. That is so awesome. I did the exact same thing. Somebody actually, I was looking for a job, and so I went to a temporary service. This was hilarious, right? I went to this temporary service called Adia. They're not even in business anymore. But I took a typing test, and the lady said, ma'am, we've never had anyone type this bad before. You typed minus 2 words a minute. I was like, she said, we can't give you any kind of job but a receptionist. I said, okay, give me the receptionist job and give me 30 days. I went and got that Mavis Beacon. And when I tell you, when I came back in 30 days and took that typing test, I typed 102 words a minute. And so I know it can be done. And then the fact of the matter is, survivors have transferable skills. If y'all don't hear anything else that we say today, I want you to know and understand. So this guy, he worked for an insurance company here, and he sat me down and he said, tell me what you did when you were trafficked. And I thought he was being a pervert at first. He wasn't. Yeah, because I was very cussing out. But he wasn't being a pervert. He said, no, Marlene, I want to just know what you did so I can frame it for you so you can either get a job or start a business. And so I'm telling him how my days went. He's typing, because y'all know I'm old. He's typing on the typewriter. He hands me this piece of paper. And then it said customer service, sales, marketing, public relations, inventory control. I said, what is this? He said, these are all the things you learned in that lifestyle. Now take them and use them for good. And it's called transferable skills. We have transferable skills, and we have things that we can do. Oh my God, you don't even get me started, girl. We have things
I completely understand.
Our lives better. Chong, we need to take a break. We're actually going to end this segment, and then we're going to come back in a few minutes for a part 2 of Industry on Blast.
Stay tuned for more jaw-dropping revelations and captivating stories. Industry on Blast will be right back, ready to uncover the secrets of the industry that will leave you speechless. Don't miss a moment. Thank you for listening to Industry on Blast. We'll be back shortly with more eye-opening discussions, incredible stories, and inspiring guests. Your journey into the depths of the industry continues soon. Welcome to Industry on Blast, the podcast that takes you on a thrilling journey into the hidden depths of secrets, deception, and untold stories. Hosted by Dr. Marlene Carson, a fearless advocate and survivor, this show is your gateway to the shocking truth and captivating narratives that lie beneath the surface. Get ready to unveil the secrets of the industry and hear from special guests who have experienced it firsthand. This is Industry on Blast.
This is Industry on Blast, and welcome back to part 2. We are talking to Chong Kim, who is an amazing filmmaker who has used her story to actually educate, bring awareness. And it's just a powerful thing what you have done, Chong. And the other thing is that every 40 seconds, I just pray that everybody watches it. You know what I'm saying? Because when you think about a kid in America missing every 40 seconds. So in my state, and I'm in Ohio, I was speaking with someone from our missing children's unit. And they said to me, Marlene, kids go missing every day, every single day. They said 50% of the kids that go missing every day will come home within 24 hours. Another 25% of them may come home in 3 days. I said, well, what about the other 25%? They said, sometimes we don't see them. And sometimes they never get back. So why is it that nobody's looking? We even had a school district here, they were prosecuted for saying that kids were in school when they were not in school. We see this stuff happening all the time. What is it that we can do? No, let me ask you this. After your movie comes out, E40S, after it comes out, what would you like the call to action to be? What kind of next steps are you looking for us to take as a community?
One of the things I want us to do is have more of our children in the public eye. Yeah. I demand the media to quit posting pictures of, children that come from affluent homes. Mm-hmm. Because let me tell you this, Amber Alert does not relate to me. No. I did not grow up in the suburbia. I grew up in rural Oklahoma in a racist white town. Mm-hmm. Then I was put into foster care where I saw more people that were of color, but we had government cheese. Mm-hmm. We had all these things.
I don't care what they said about that cheese. I like that cheese. It makes the mouth like cheese.
But you can feel the atmosphere is different. It's like these kids are indigenous, so we shouldn't care. So whenever I hear people say, "Oh, these are at-risk youth," quit calling them that. Because when people think of at-risk youth, they think juveniles, troublemaker, bad girl. And I remember seeing a post where Oprah Winfrey was 14 years old and she was pregnant. She was raped and got pregnant, but she got taken to a bad girl's home. First of all, she was still a child.
Right. Somebody should have been questioning that.
Thank you.
Instead of punishing her.
Exactly. And so, all these things that come together, and I thought to myself, I want to tell people what is the real deal, what goes on. And the other thing is there's this false misconception. When I had Katie Carr, the actress that played the lead for our short, now our short was originally supposed to be a proof of concept. And here's the crazy part. One of my Asian persons that I knew, she told me to put it in an Asian film festival. So I had to change everything, make it into a narrative. We had to do this in less than 20 minutes.
Oh my.
And we got declined. Okay. But we ended up winning 10 awards.
I mean, you sent me a ton of awards that you all have won. Tell us about some of those awards.
The biggest ones were in Europe, like Italy and France. They loved it. They loved that I had a woman of color. They asked me, why did I choose that since I'm Asian? And I said, our stories need to be told. because if I were to put my face out there, it would still, I don't believe people would understand the racism part. They would understand the yellow fever racism, where there's tons of white guys that want an Asian woman. But I'm not talking about that type of racism. Because when I was with my foster sister, I would see how she was treated differently than I was, even in the trafficking world. And her trafficker was a white guy. It was not a black guy. She was trauma bond. She loved him. Every time he would tell her, come back, she would run back. And I'm like, what are you doing? Don't go back. You know, but also when she would ask for help, she would get arrested. And here's the other crazy thing. I have to share this. Every time, even after my trafficking, I became a prostitute.
I get it.
I wasn't born here.
Let me just say this on that note. So for people who think that exploited people, male or female, come out this life after you just showed me how to run game. You just showed me how to make money. And I was very young. So now I'm 20, 25. What do you think we're going to do? No skills, children. What do you think we're going to do? Until someone is really willing to invest. And I just don't mean invest money. Invest your greatest asset, which is time, in a loving, non-judgmental environment, and not this whole savior complex, like you're rescuing. I just got to the point where I can't even stand the word rescue, because I don't think nobody is rescued. But until they are willing to really invest that time to help change the narrative and the plight of a person's life, what do you think we're going to do?
Thank you.
There's nothing else to do.
And then also it's about survival, because once we leave, where are we supposed to go?
Right.
Because especially in the 90s, there were no resources.
Oh, no.
And I get so many people that says, well, why didn't you go to the police? I was a prostitute. You think the cop's going to help me? I had this one cop. He said, yeah, I'll help you. Why don't you suck me?
Okay.
And I walked away. I was like, no, because there's so much abuse that we go through. And then when I do get help, and this is the part I wanted to share. One time, me and Shaquila we were hopping motels to motels. Back then, it was cheap. It was $20 a night.
Wow.
And so when I would go on a call, she would wait outside the door. And I told her, if I kick the window, that means you come in.
Right.
You know, because we had guns. We didn't have no taser. Because it was either us or against them. And these men, they don't play nice.
Yeah.
So she was my ride to die. And so one day I was walking towards the gas station from the motel because I wanted to get some cigarettes. This Asian guy pulled up in a BMW and he said, I'm a pastor. And I said, okay, what do you want me to do? Because it's going to cost you. And he said, no, I want to help you. He said, I can help you get an education. I can help you get your own apartment. And just by looking at him, I already knew he was racist, but I wanted to test him. So I said, well, I have my sister at the motel.
Wow.
Are you going to take us both? And he said, yeah. So I said, okay. I didn't tell him what my sister looked like.
Wow.
So I ran to the motel and I told Shaquila, I said, hey, there's this Asian guy. He's going to come up. He says he's going to help, but I think he's BSing. She was the only one that was packing our stuff. She was so excited.
Oh my
and
God.
He walked in and she was the one smiling at him. And I looked at him and he looked at her. He looked at me. He goes, oh, just in one moment, I go back to my car. I have to do something.
And never came
Shaquila was like, okay. And I would watch. I was sitting on the bed and I would see her look out the window.
Wow.
And every time a car would pull up, she would look, and I said, he's not coming. She goes, you never know. He might change his mind. She was more hopeful than I was. I was furious.
Yeah.
And then I would have another group that were and I'm talking about people who claimed to help victims,
Mm-hmm.
they were non-Black. Every one of them that were non-Black. It didn't matter if they were white, Asian, Latino. They all, every time they saw my foster sister, they asked me, is she pimping you? We can get you away from her. I kid you not. I was angry. I was like, no, she's with me. She was with me.
Oh my gosh.
And they're like, well, we can only help you. We can't help her.
That is horrible.
I kid you not.
This is so crazy because I just think about how many times one of the first things that a survivor that's coming out the life needs is housing. We know we have a housing crisis across America. And so if someone that has legit housing or someone willing to take the chance on housing victims, and then we know a lot of us are people of color. That's horrible. That's really horrible.
And that's what I want to show in my film. Because when they told me, they said, we will help you. We'll drop her off at a Black church. And I was like, what are they going to do?
What they going to do?
They don't know anything. You were the ones that came to me and said, you want to help me. You want to help me get an education. You want to help me get a GED, an apartment. Why can't she come with me?
Chong, how many times have you ran into those people that say, we want to help, we're going to do all this stuff, and I mean, promise you the world and never do nothing?
More than 100 times.
I believe it, and never do nothing. So for those that may be watching this show, I just want to say, if you want to help out of the sincerity of your heart, you may not even know what to do. But if you don't know what to do, we have programs. You can go to the blastmovement.org website. We have trainings. We have so many things that you can go onto this website and you can be trained on how to help victims. I can tell you, for me personally, I believe in education and entrepreneurship. And I also believe that you don't have to train me on human trafficking. I know what that is. Okay. I can help you with that.
Thank you.
But for someone to come in our lives to help us get from where we are to where God wants us to be, or to where we desire to be, to where we aspire to be even, that's what we're looking for. You don't have to be a traffic survivor. You don't have to have all the answers, but you have to have a heart to want to help. I can't give you passion. I can't give you compassion. But if you have a heart to want to help victims, we can definitely show you how to do that. Wow.
Absolutely. And that's why everything that I went through, and even when I was surviving, what was funny, and this I want to share real quick. When I was living in Minnesota, I was going through so many discrimination through a lot of programs. That was domestic violence shelters.
In Minnesota?
Yes. They took my son. They put him in CPS. They lied and said that I relapsed when I didn't. So one day I went to the law library. And with me being Asian, this one judge saw me in there. And he said, are you the daughter of certain Judge Kim? I played along. I was like, yep. So he let me stay. And through there, I studied by myself about family law, women's rights.
Awesome.
I started studying day and night. And that judge saw me and he said, do you need a job? And I said, yes. So he asked me, send me your resume. I'll be honest, I BS through my resume.
Girl, please, I've done it plenty of times. Because you know what you got, you're in survival mode, what they want you to do.
Exactly.
And it really trips me out when people actually say, when they know you're a survivor and they'll say, can you send me a resume? What do you think is going to be on it?
Thank you.
Seriously, what's going to be
Prostitutes are us?
13. Come on.
Yep. So I BS my way. I ended up working for a law firm. And then I started seeing all these cases that were a person of color that were not looked at. And that's what gave me the idea of wanting to create a law clinic called Hands Up Initiative.
Talk about that a little bit. Hands Up Initiative. Tell the studio audience about Hands Up Initiative.
So Hands Up Initiative, we are not a law firm, but what we will do is we will utilize the funding for the film to go find an attorney.
Yeah.
But it will be a sliding scale fee because we want you to feel like you participated in your case. Even if it's $5, $10, at least you could say, I paid something for my case. We will also talk about expungement. We will also relook at your record because the Innocent Project, and I cannot stress this enough, just because someone pled guilty does not mean they are guilty. The justice is not on our side because 9 times out of 10, you will get a court-appointed defense attorney that will look at you and say, you know what, I'm not going to fight for you.
Right.
Where are you going to find the money?
Right.
Because most retainers, especially if you're already indicted as a criminal and arrested, it's $20,000 and more. Oof. Who has that kind of money?
Right.
So imagine Centonia Brown, Crystal Kaiser, Sarah Cruzan, the moment they get arrested, and then their court-appointed attorney says, I'm not fighting for you. You're a criminal, so now you have to take the plea bargain. There's so many things.
And
so the Innocent Project
cases that she's referencing, these are victims of trafficking who was trafficked. Some of them may have, well, I'm just going to tell you what it is. Killed their trafficker, killed their buyer. But you got to think about this. These victims are in survival mode, number one. Taken as kids, number two. Whole life gone. And they see that opportunity for freedom. Hey, let me tell you something.
Thank you.
It is what it is, okay? And I don't even think they should be in prison at all. I'm grateful for the ones that have gotten out, but there's still one in Ohio that is still in a correctional facility, and she needs to get out. So, we are taking some steps and signing some petitions and doing whatever we got to do to help get her out. But look, how long did Centonia stay in prison? 20 years? It took 20 years to get her out?
And same thing for Sarah Cruzan. Same thing for Sarah Cruzan. And that's one of the things I created, E40S. It has a survivor who works alongside the task force, but she also has trauma. And one of her trauma is dissociative identity disorder.
Okay.
So I also talk about the mental health impact in our lives. So whenever because what the FBI did with me, they had me go undercover. Guess what? I'm going to have triggers. If I'm going to be surrounded by the same people I was once trafficked.
I remember when you told me that, why? Okay, so I understand there's some areas of expertise that we have, and there's some things that we can identify. However, unless they had a counselor, someone there for you to talk to, someone there for you to process with, someone to walk you through it, another peer to help you through this. Girl, these people are crazy. These people, I got to talk about this before the end of this show. So we all know that Diddy has come up for trafficking. Now, what's her name? Ventura. Cassie Ventura. So she was the first person that actually came out with the charges. They settled her case. Actually, they say 24 hours. It was actually 8 hours. They settled her case within 8 hours. But since then, we have 3 more female victims and 1 male victim. And so what's interesting about these cases is that I think as survivors of trafficking, let me ask you this first. Do you know of any other organization that primarily serves people of color?
I know Dorothy's House. I know Vanita's program and yours.
So Vanita's no longer there. Did you know that?
Yeah, she said she does her own ministry.
And so I think that the reality of it is very few. And so for anybody who watches this and can get to 50 cents, tell 50 Cent Dr. Marlene Carson want to talk to him, okay? Because one of the things that he has committed to, he has a movie coming out on Christmas Day. I'm not saying I agree or disagree with it, but it's all about Diddy and some of the people that are accusing him of these heinous crimes. And so the reality of it is the proceeds are going to victims, are going to survivors. And I think that's phenomenal, but I think it should be very intentional. And I'm like, there's not too many survivor-led organizations out here. So who is going to go to? I'm not trying to be funny. People of color need support. We need financial support. We need housing. There's such a huge need. I am tired of seeing all these Caucasian organizations getting millions and millions and millions of dollars and then can't even serve us as people of color. We just did a white paper in Ohio, and we did a report on trafficked victims of color with disabilities. And I remember when we first started talking about it, people were like, what do you mean with disabilities? People traffic people that have disabilities? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, they
I'm
do.
one of them. I am disabled.
It's crazy, but people have not actually wrapped their mind around the real trauma and the really what happens when it comes to human trafficking. It's a very, very sad scenario. And the reality of it is, it is really my prayer that E40S is a success, that it gets out here, that it brings the education and awareness, because people just need to know.
Absolutely. And one of the things I want to do with E40S, once the feature film comes out, we do plan to create it into a series.
Yeah.
And I want to invite survivors to come and learn how to write a script, learn about their life rights.
That's awesome.
And also teach them about filmmaking, what are the do's and don'ts, because we need more survivors to tell their own story,
right,
without the industry trying to take it from them.
Right. That's the truth. Because did you hear about this latest thing that DOJ is doing? They want you to be able to be certified as an ethical storyteller. And if you're not certified as an ethical storyteller, you're not supposed to be able to share your story. That's a bunch of crap. So to me, they are trying to facilitate the narrative again. You're trying to say you can't talk about this stuff. And then one of the supposedly best practices is no two survivors can be on a panel at the same time. I'm like, I'm over this. Y'all,
right?
This is absolutely ridiculous.
It is. And that's why E40S, I decided to create it as a movement. I want us to have our own merchandise, everything. So that way a percentage of it goes to survivor-led programs, survivor-led business. And let's say a survivor needs help with housing, we will pay for her housing.
Yeah. So, someone just told me we're actually going to be interviewing another guest later on today. And she told me that in their program, I won't call the program's name, they pay for 2 years for housing for victims of Caucasian victims. They pay for 30 days if you're African American. Same funding. And I told her, I said, tell me that again. What did you say? She said, yeah, Dr. Marlene, they pay. She said, I've helped victims for the last several years, and we pay for 2 years, scot-free rent, clear, paid, and 30 days if you're a person of color. See, to me, I just think that's wrong on so many levels.
It is. It is. But I look at it this way, they can do whatever they want because they ain't getting a dime from me.
I hear you.
Because if you check out our website, e40s.net, and you see who we support, you will see Dr. Marlene Carson and Blast on our website.
Yeah. It's really heartbreaking as those of us like yourself who have been in this movement a long time, that with our blood, sweat, tears, beg, borrow, almost stealing to help victims. It just shouldn't be that way. I mean, we do a lot to help victims, and sometimes at our own detriment. I remember when I first started the housing program, I thought I was going to need a program because I was so determined to help these victims who didn't have the capacity to survive like I did. You know what I'm saying? So they had to have a place to stay. And I remember one particular young lady, she actually passed away, but of a heart attack of all things. And she was a young lady. But when we first took her in, the school called and they said, what are you doing with this girl over there? And I told her, we just have a loving, non-judgmental environment where she can live, grow, and thrive. And they said, can we send some more? They's like, we don't know what you're doing, but this girl has been in our school for 2 years and she's never excelled like this. I said, because she was homeless, because she had no prostitute to eat, because she had no safe place to sleep. What did y'all expect? And no one ever gave her a chance. And all we are saying today is give victims of color a chance, period. Because we're going to excel. We will.
Absolutely. Excel. Absolutely. And I have an amazing lead actress that's playing the survivor. She is so phenomenal. She said, Chong, I want you to teach me.
Yeah.
If I said anything wrong, please correct me.
Yeah.
Please help me understand. And she said she would love to be a promoter.
Okay.
She has been on Black Love.
Okay.
So she also has a lot of ties.
Yes.
And she said, let me be the voice. And that's what I needed in Eden. The lead did not coexist with me to talk about, human trafficking. She just wanted to be a pretty face because she was a lead. So when I was looking for a lead, I wanted someone that was not just a pretty face.
Yeah.
You have to come with it.
Yes.
Because
and your heart. You want somebody on that screen to share your heart, your passion, your vision, not just be a pretty cute face.
Thank you. Thank you.
Not at all. Not at all. Chong, final comments. We're almost ready to wrap it up. Any final comments? Who do you want to speak to? Share something with the survivors and victims. Go ahead.
I just want you to know, please be patient with me for one more year. We are hoping to film by next year, and then we'll submit it to film festivals, the big one like Sundance, South by Southwest, Tribeca. Hopefully we will win and it'll go out in theaters because I am creating something for us, finally for us. It will be an education, filming. I want to build an apartment complex where they have their own apartment. No more sharing facilities, no more shelters. We're not animals to be put in a kennel. We went through that in trafficking. Time's up.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. And thank you for even the information that you gave out on E40S. We cannot wait for it to come out. We are definitely going to be rooting and praying for you and all that you endeavor to do. Thank you, Chong.
Thank you so much.
All right, let's wrap it up.
That concludes another mind-blowing episode of Industry on Blast. Thank you for joining us on this riveting exploration of the industry's secrets. Be sure to subscribe and never miss an episode as we continue to unveil the truth. Visit our website at www.blastnetwork.com to catch up on previous episodes and stay connected. If you have a story to share or are interested in becoming a sponsor or guest, we want to hear from you. Together, we can ignite change and create a world free from the shadows. This is Industry on Blast, signing off. Keep shining a light on the truth.